Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here to present a tea that is going to be something for us to look at, talk about together, explore if it's a new tea for you. This is a Chinese oolong tea. I'm going to be getting out enough with my hands here. With some bulky teas like this, it's just plain simpler to use your hand. You want to make sure your hand is clean. No fragrances on your hand either. And so I'm putting in enough to cover the bottom inch to inch and a half diameter of my 4-ounce gaiwan. Gaiwan being the Chinese word for a covered or lidded bowl. I'm going to add enough water here to sit above the rim of my lid when I put it on. My water's been brought to a very low boil, and then it's been cooling for about a minute or so, so it's still got plenty of heat on it. I'm going to put this lid on and let it steep. Good. A little bit of water rising above the outer edge there. And now I can talk about this tea. This is from the China Cha Dao. This is the 2011 Da Hong Pao. 125 grams of size. This is actually a 250 gram bag, so don't let the size of this bag confuse you. 125 grams available on China Cha Dao's eBay store are available for $6.99. It is a spring 2011 harvest. It is from and there's information actually provided about the source, the ultimate provider, one step closer or further back on the chain there. The JLY Tea Company was where China Cha Dao acquired this tea. So I'm going to be able to talk about and walk through the process of talking about and appreciating the dry leaf, wet leaf, and the liquor of this tea. So while this is steeping a little bit longer, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little about this dry leaf and go from there. Now, I'm getting stronger aromas off of this whiff than I have, this sniff than I have in previous. So sometimes if you're not getting strong aromas, you can't pick up anything, one thing you can do is breathe out, exhale into the tea, and that creates a little bit of steam, a little bit of heat that kind of releases more aroma. When you do that, before I exhaled, I got some nice toasty, slightly kind of toasty sweet, think toasted oats, Cheerio type of smell that came off. As I exhaled more and drew out more of the aromas there, underneath that I got a little bit of a charcoal type of smell and light kind of hints of almost cigarette ash. So there's lots of toasting going on with this tea. Okay, go ahead and take out a few of the leaves to look at. I'm going to put them in my hand here. They are a deep bister brownish gray rich color. Not a lot. I'm looking at any kind of sheen or gloss that's on this tea, and it's fairly uniform in a more neutral flat kind of tone. Leaf size can be anywhere from say 1.5 inches down to little pieces that are 1/2 inch or less. Some of these look are wrinkled or wrapped along the length of the vein. Others have gotten kind of crumpled and twisted into other shapes. Most of these look like they've been generally kind of wrapped or crinkled along the length of the leaf there. But some of them are thicker, some of them are more thinner, tightly wound. So you get a lot of range of dimensions there on that aspect. So moving on then to talk a little bit about this liquor, I'm going to be able to get ready to pour here. And to pour, I'm just going to angle my lid over to the side, create a kind of a pouring exit there. Also it creates an area for the air to travel in so that you get a nice smooth pour, just like so. Get those last few drops down there at the bottom of the gaiwan. Those can be some of the more intense, stronger liquor that you're going to get off of there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this wet leaf here. Now sweeter, of course, lighter, sweeter notes coming off of the inside of the lid, underside of the lid here. The actual down in the leaf itself. Again, stronger toasted notes coming out. Charcoal still there. Little, like I said, a little smattering of light cigar ash coming out there. As it cools, it's picking up a little bit more sweetness. Something hinting at, bordering on baked cherry kind of notes. Roast, if you could roast a cherry, there'd be a little bit of that going on in there. Just a hint. You've got to kind of tease it out. Let's look at some of these leaves and talk about this wet leaf. Pulling out a few of these leaves, they've loosened up quite a bit, so that they're pretty easy to open up and unfurl in your hands here. This particular leaf got some thickness to it. But at the same time, it's still a very fragile, fairly fragile leaf, not very supple, not very flexible, easily torn. Just want to put that there. That's a fairly large leaf there. Pull out just a couple more, one or two more. Again, same thing with this particular one. Fairly thick, heavy, fairly easily torn as well. Actually, it's actually folded in half. If I can tease it apart, I will, so that it can be, because this one's a fairly broad, wide, mature looking leaf. It's actually not going to be able to pull this one apart, so I'm just going to set it there as half of a leaf, or a full leaf folded in half along its length there. Pulling out just one more that does unfurl fairly well. Yeah, there we go. Leaves are fairly well intact. Some ragged, torn edges, but for the most part, the leaves are whole. Or there's a lot of leaf still there, not crumbled, broken up, torn apart. So, still in that nice, dark, rich color, though. Moving on then and talk a little bit about this liquor. I'm going to go ahead and give it a pour, swirl it around a little bit. Color-wise, a nice, rich, not quite coppery. It's a nice kind of a reddish brown color. Not quite a black tea, although it could resemble, if you, a lighter, thinner type of black tea. Okay, but let's go ahead. Smells those toasted, roasted notes coming out, not as harsh as what it was in the wet leaf and the dry leaf. It's actually a bit more on the toasted oat, a little bit sweeter, a little mellower there. So that's an improvement. Let's go ahead. I'm going to give this a taste now. One thing that hit me that I often look for is a very quick, brief, but nice kind of welcome tart bite that hits in the middle of your mouth. It starts off in the middle of the roof of your mouth and kind of falls back and gets right under your tongue and gives a quick snap of sour kind of tart refreshment, and not off-putting, because it balances with this kind of texture. Now, in this particular case, I was looking for that. I got close. It got to the precipice of that tart zing type bite there, but didn't go all the way. That, along with the kind of coating or texture, it hinted that it was going to get to that and be nice and smooth and really kind of coat the mouth and make it feel smooth, and then it didn't get all the way there again. We give it another shot. Sometimes as it cools, a little bit of these elements can pick up, so let me kind of give that another shot here. Yeah, again, there is a little bit of a toasted, roasted, toasted Cheerio, toasted oat type of element that's there. It hits ever so briefly. Again, same thing with that sour bite, tart bite that hits ever so briefly. It doesn't quite fully arrive. Texture and aftertaste, again, similar kind of aspects, almost there but not quite. So this tea kind of gets there. It has some of the representation, but yet it's not round, ripe, full, mature. It should have a fuller smoothness to it. It should have a sweeter aftertaste that builds this gummy, sticky texture in the back that's just not there as well. So I look at this tea. I would give this tea, I gave this tea an 84. It's got some nice components to it. Again, it's the basic sentence summary of this tea is almost but not quite. And so come back to Walker Tea Review to look for those teas that are going to reach out and grab you, the ones that are going to touch you, and the ones that leave you searching for more.